The silence of space was a lie. Inside the escape pod, the hum of dying systems and the warning klaxons painted a symphony of collapse. Princess Kalira of the Varelian dynasty gripped the fractured console with blood-slicked hands. Her silver eyes locked on a rapidly approaching planet below. Her body trembled, not from fear, but from fury. Betrayal had not come from her enemies. It had come from within. She replayed the moment again. The shimmering throne chamber bathed in violet light, the scent of ion flowers in the air, the smug smirk on Lord Veth's face as he activated the attainment field. The Empire doesn't need a weak-hearted idealist, he had said. It needs control. The guards who once protected her had stood by, weapons lowered, as she was dragged to the launch bay and stuffed into a decommissioned pod. Now, free-falling toward an unknown world, Kalira snarled. Veth hadn't killed her outright. That would have made her a martyr. No! He'd left her to die forgotten, burned up in the atmosphere of forgotten Class D rock on the edge of galactic charts. Fire licked the pod's hull as it pierced the atmosphere. Systems screamed. The stabilizers failed. The world below rushed up, oceans, mountains, endless green. Kalira's last thoughts before the blackout weren't of home or vengeance. They were of silence. When she awoke, it was not silent. Something chirped. No, not something. Birds. Organic, primitive, alive. Her body ached. The pod was split open like a fruit, its metal ribs jutting into the mud. Smoke curled skyward. She dragged herself free, every movement a spike of agony. Her leg was broken, her left arm numb. The elegant armor of her station cracked and smeared in blood and filth. The forest around her was alien and beautiful. Towering trees, thick vines, air buzzing with unseen insects. A canopy of blue leaves dappled sunlight over her silver skin. Somewhere in the distance, a stream gurgled, but she couldn't move more than a few meters before collapsing. She lost time then. Consciousness flickered in and out. Fever dreams stole hours. She remembered the sound of footsteps, heavy and deliberate. A voice, low, cautious, then warmth. Kalira woke again in a cave, or perhaps a shelter. It smelled of antiseptic and ash. Her wounds were bound, not with the nanoweave gel of her people, but something more primitive. Bandages, salves. Her leg had been splintered with wood and cloth. She tried to sit, but failed. Her vision swam. A figure sat across from her, silhouetted against the fire. Human, male, tall, broad-shouldered, with a beard dark as space dust. His clothes were warm but functional. Utility pants, a patched jacket, boots caked in dirt. A weapon rested nearby, but not in his hand. He noticed her stirring and turned. "You're awake," he said, his voice calm. "Didn't think you'd make it." She tried to speak, but her throat was dry. He passed her a canteen, and though her pride flared, she drank. "Name's Elias," he continued, watching her cautiously. "I'm a field medic. Used to be military. Now not." Kalira narrowed her eyes. She didn't understand all his words, but context helped. She coughed, voice raspy but firm. "You healed me? I did what I could." He shrugged. "Didn't have much of a choice. You were dying, and I'm not in the habit of letting people die if I can stop it." She studied him. He bore no insignia, no symbols of power. His face was lined with weariness, not ambition. This man, Elias, was not a soldier of conquest. He was something else, something inconveniently kind. "Why?" she asked, the word jagged in her throat. He met her gaze, eyes dark but honest. "Because someone once saved me when they didn't have to." The conversation ended there. Elias went back to preparing something in a dented pot, while Kalira lay still, eyes fixed on the cave ceiling. The fire popped. Rain began to fall outside, pattering softly against the leaves. Days passed in a rhythm of silence, treatment, and awkward communication. Elias taught her simple words in his tongue: water, eat, pain. In return, Kalira began sharing pieces of her own language, sharp syllables shaped by pride and precision. Slowly, understanding bloomed, not just in speech, but in expression. He learned when her eyes warned of pain. She read the guilt etched in his silence. Kilira learned Elias lived alone, deep in this forgotten corner of Earth. No nearby towns, no regular contact. He had chosen isolation, though he never said why. He tended to wounded animals and sometimes injured travelers, a ghost of war who had turned his back on the world. She understood that, but trust was not yet earned. Kilira kept secrets close. Her identity, her lineage, the depth of the betrayal that had cast her here, to this world, to this man. One night, as the wind howled outside and lightning flared against the mouth of the cave, Kilira jolted awake, breath ragged. A nightmare. The throne room. The betrayal. She clenched her fists. Elias stirred nearby, then approached, kneeling beside her. He didn't speak, didn't pry. Instead, he placed a cloth-wrapped object in her lap. It was a small device, her neural pendant, thought lost in the crash. She clutched it, heart racing. Found it by the wreck, he said softly. Figured it mattered. Kilira looked at him then, really looked. Beneath the coarse beard and scarred hands was a man haunted not by war, but by the things he had chosen not to do, the lives he could not save. She saw no desire for conquest in his eyes. Only hope that this, at least, he'd done right. And yet, if he knew who she truly was, what she represented, would he still sit beside her? She lay back down, the pendant pressed to her chest. Rain hissed on the firewood, and the cave filled with shadows. For the first time since the betrayal, Kilira allowed her eyes to close without fear. Tomorrow, she would ask him about his world. Tomorrow, she would tell him a little more about hers. Tomorrow, the story would begin. The morning brought mist and stillness, the kind of hush that cloaked the forest in mystery. Elias moved through it with practiced ease, gathering herbs near the stream as Kilira watched from the cave's entrance, her splinted legs stretched out, cloak drawn tight around her shoulders. Her recovery had progressed in measured steps, but each one was a negotiation between pain and resolve. She refused to be pitted. He returned with damp leaves and roots, his boots leaving shallow prints in the wet earth. She studied his face again, creased with thought, eyes alert but distant. He knelt beside the fire and began sorting his find without a word, though he glanced up once to meet her gaze. "You'll need protein," he said, pulling dried meat from a pouch. "You're healing, but you're still lightheaded. That's from blood loss." "I know what blood loss is," she muttered, voice taut. Elias raised a brow. "Didn't doubt it." His calm deflection grated on her, yet she couldn't deny his effectiveness. Despite crude tools and rudimentary resources, he had saved her life. Twice now. Still, the imbalance of power gnawed at her. She was royalty, trained in strategy and command, not helplessness. Yet here she was, dependent. He handed her a strip of meat. She hesitated, then accepted. It was tough, overly salted, but palatable. He watched her eat with the quiet satisfaction of someone who had done what needed doing, not out of obligation, but intent. "You said you're a medic," she said between bites. "Soldier too?" He didn't look up. "Used to be. Earth's last big war. I patched holes in people who didn't always come back from the next fight. Got tired of fixing bodies, while the ones in charge broke them faster." His words held weight, sharp with memory. She understood it all too well. Sacrifice weaponized, loyalty manipulated. "You left your command," she said, more observation than question. "I left what I didn't believe in anymore." She nodded slowly, her thoughts turning to her own exile. "They call me naive. For wanting peace. For refusing to destroy a rival colony after the ceasefire. I was going to dissolve the Tribunal Council. Give power back to the people. And they tried to kill you for it?" "They did worse," she said, her tone flat. "They made me irrelevant." Silence settled between them, heavy with mutual recognition. Different worlds, same wounds. Later that day, Elias brought her outside, carefully lifting her and setting her on a makeshift seat fashioned from stone and woven cloth. The sun filtered through blue-tinged leaves. Birds chattered above them, their movements precise and jittery. Kilira breathed deep. Despite everything, the air was rich with life, untainted by the synthetic sterility of her palace. She hated that she noticed it. Elias returned with a datapad, his worn and covered in scratches. He activated the translation software, a limited but serviceable tool. With effort, they began trading words, bridging the gap between languages. Sky, tree, medic, princess. At that last one, Elias paused. She caught his reaction. You already suspected, she said. Yeah, the armor, the posture, the way you talk about your people like they're still yours. Kilira stiffened. They are mine. I believe you. She searched his face for mockery, but found none. He meant it. That unsettled her more than disbelief would have. They continued practicing language, constructing simple sentences, often broken by laughter or mutual confusion. When Kilira mispronounced a human phrase, Elias chuckled, and for a brief moment, the tension between them softened. Later, as dusk approached, she gestured to trees. Your world. Strange. Yours is stranger, I bet. Cleaner, she replied dryly. Colder. Structured. Elias looked around. This place has its rules, too. Just fewer people enforcing them. That night, she asked him why he stayed here, away from other humans. He hesitated, stirring the embers of the fire before answering. Too many ghosts, he said. Places remind me of people, and what I couldn't fix. Kilira thought of her sister, long dead in a skirmish that Kilira had argued to prevent. She had failed then, just as Elias had. In whatever war haunted him, in that shared failure, they found understanding. Days blurred. Her strength returned slowly. She began assisting Elias with minor tasks, crushing herbs, folding bandages, purifying water. The simplicity grounded her. Her people had seen service as lesser. She now saw it as survival. One afternoon, Elias caught her testing her leg, easing pressure on it with a grimace. He approached. You'll tear the muscle. Another day. I'm not fragile, she snapped. I didn't say you were. His tone was calm, but something flickered in his eyes. Concern, maybe. Frustration. I know what it's like, he added, to feel trapped in your own body, to want to move before you're ready. She blinked, surprised by the depth in his voice. Was it your leg? She asked. My lungs, he replied. Explosive. Collapsed one of them. Spent months learning how to breathe again. Kilira sat back, the fire casting shadows between them. You endured it alone? For the most part. He didn't elaborate. She didn't press. That night, Kilira dreamed of Aurelia, the palace floating in the clouds, its towers aglow with crystal light, her mother's voice, the weight of a crown too soon placed on her brow. She awoke breathless. Elias was nearby, sipping from a metal mug. His presence, quiet and steady, offered unexpected comfort. Bad dream, he asked. Yes. She didn't elaborate. He didn't press. By the 10th day, she could walk short distances. Elias fashioned a crutch from curved wood, wrapped in leather bindings. When she took it, their fingers brushed. Neither spoke of it. Outside, birds scattered from the trees. Something disturbed the silence. Low, mechanical hums in the distance. Elias stiffened. His hand moved his rifle. Kilira froze. Drones, he muttered. Surveyors. Damn. Yours. No. Government. Or maybe a scavenger crew. They don't like surprises. He ushered her back into the shelter. The warmth of the past days vanished like breath in winter. They'll pick up radiation from your pod. Heat signatures, too, he said. Then we leave. Elias looked at her. You can barely walk. I can move, she said coldly, and I won't be caged again. He held her gaze, then nodded once. Pack light. We'll move at dawn. She watched him gather supplies, swift and practiced, the easy rhythm between them now infused with urgency. There would be no more gentle language lessons, no quiet evenings. Whatever peace they'd found here was ending. Still, she felt no panic. Not yet, only clarity. She would survive this too. And now, she wasn't alone. As the fire dimmed and Elias repaired their route on a crude map, Kilira traced a pendant at her neck. Her power, dormant but not lost. They thought her dead. Let them. Tomorrow, she would rise again. And this time, she would choose who stood beside her. Rain fell in sheets as Elias led Kilira through the undergrowth, his every step careful but swift. She followed, her weight supported by the crutch he'd built, her movement awkward but determined. The pain in her leg throbbed with every step, but she swallowed it down. They had no time to rest. The drones had been real. She'd heard them too, metallic wings slicing the air like knives. Someone was hunting. They moved away from the wreckage of the pod, deeper into the forest where the canopy grew thick and the ground became treacherous. Kilira didn't ask how far they had to go, and Elias didn't offer the information. He was scanning the terrain, eyes always moving. The medic had become a soldier again, not in uniform, but in posture and presence. As twilight crept over the trees, they reached a ravine, a shallow cut in the land with a stream trickling through it. Elias helped her descend, his grip firm on her arm. Once at the bottom, they found a dry alcove beneath an overhang, protected on 3 sides by stone. "This'll do for now," he said, lowering his pack. Kilira eased down onto a mossy rock, exhaling sharply. Her leg was swelling again. She reached for her cloak and drew it tighter, not from cold, but from unease. "They'll follow the radiation trail," she said. "They'll follow footprints, heat signatures, anything they can read," Elias replied. "If they're human, if there's something else, I don't know. You're worried." "I'm always worried. The difference is I usually don't have someone else to worry about." She met his gaze, her expression unreadable. "I can take care of myself." "I've noticed," he said quietly, "but I still have your blood on my hands." They sat in silence for a while. The fire he built was small, smokeless, hidden in a ring of stones. The smell of damp earth filled the air. "What do you think they'll do if they find me?" she asked, after a long pause. Elias didn't answer immediately. He stared into flames. "They won't ask questions. You're alien. That'll be enough. And you, collateral." Her jaw clenched. "Then we make sure they don't find us." He nodded once. That night, she woke to the low growl of an engine. Elias was already up, crouched at the edge of the alcove, his rifle steady. A light swept through the trees above them. A yellow beam, flickering across the ravine wall like a searching eye. Kilira crawled beside him, careful not to let the crutch clatter. The light moved on. The growl faded. "Too close," he murmured. "They're searching by pattern. Not random. They have our trajectory." Elias gave her a tight nod. "We change direction at first light. Double back. Make it hard." Kilira looked at him. "Where are we going, Elias?" He hesitated. "There's an old comms array up north. Abandoned. I jury-rigged a transmitter there once. If we can reach it, maybe you can call your people." Her eyes sharpened. "You believe I still have people?" "I think someone out there cares whether you're alive. And if I'm wrong, we'll figure out the next step." "Why?" she asked. "Why do this?" "Because I couldn't save the last one," he said. "And this time I can." Kilira didn't speak. Her mind was a churn of emotion, gratitude, anger, grief. She hated needing help. She hated how much she no longer hated Elias. At dawn, they moved again. Elias dismantled their shelter with meticulous care, leaving no trace. Kilira limped beside him, her body burning, her resolve calcified. Midday brought confrontation. A small scout drone, gliding low through the trees, spotted movement and turned sharply toward them. Elias fired without hesitation, the crack of his rifle sharp in the still air. The drone tumbled from the sky, trailing smoke. But it was too late. "They'll triangulate that," Kilira hissed. "I know. Come on." They pushed hard, the terrain rougher now, climbing into rocky hills. Kilira stumbled once, catching herself with a hiss of pain. Elias reached to steady her. She slapped his hand away, pride flaring. "I know," he said, not unkindly. At nightfall, they took shelter in a hollow tree. Elias checked her bandages, his touch gentle but impersonal. "You'll tear the ligaments if you keep moving like this," he warned. "I don't care. You will if your leg gives out completely." She stared at him. "You think I'm weak?" I think you're hurt. She turned away. Same thing. The next day, they crested a ridge. Elias pointed. That's it. Comms tower, half a mile that way. Kilira's heart lifted until she heard the whirring. A drone, but this one wasn't alone. A second, a third, a low-flying carrier veered overhead. It bore no Earth insignia, just matte black plating and the harsh red gleam of targeting sensors. Kilira's breath caught. She recognized that design. Not human, she whispered. What? They're Varelian. Elias stiffened. Your people? No. Vets. A chill passed between them. If they're here, they know I survived. The forest erupted with motion. A perimeter was forming. They had minutes, maybe less. We make the tower, Elias said. Now. They ran. Her gait uneven, his covering hers. Pulse fire rained from the sky, scorching bark, slicing air. Trees cracked and fell. Smoke thickened. Kilira reached the comm structure first. Half collapsed, its antennae rusted but upright. Elias crashed in after her, slamming the hatch shut. He dumped his pack, tearing into it for tools. Hold them off, he said. I'll get this working. She limped to the entrance, gripping a plasma cutter she'd scavenged from the pod. Her breath came ragged. Outside, the carrier descended. She fired once, twice, at approaching shadows. Behind her, Elias cursed softly. Damn it! Frequencies jam, need an external boost. Kilira turned. My pendant. It amplifies neural signals. Use it. He looked at her, surprised. Now, she shouted. He snapped it from her neck, clipped it to the relay. Sparks flew. The tower shuddered. A low hum built around them. The signal pulsed outward. I've sent a beacon, Elias said. If anyone's listening. A blast ripped through the side of the structure. The wall collapsed inward. Kilira fell, her crutch splintering. Elias pulled her behind a support beam as boots pounded outside. Voices in Varelian. Orders. Come out, princess, a voice called. Familiar. Cold. Kilira's blood froze. Lord Veth, she whispered. He was here. Personally. You think a forest and a half-dead medic can hide you from me? Veth continued. Come now. This planet isn't worth dying on. Elias gripped his rifle. You have options, he whispered. No, she said, rising to her feet. I only have one. Kilira stepped into the open, weapon raised, cloak torn, eyes burning. I am Kilira of Aurelia, she shouted, and I will not kneel to traitors. Veth's soldiers hesitated. A roar broke the sky. A ship, a Virelian royal cruiser, pierced the clouds, its insignia flashing silver and blue. Loyalists. Elias looked up, stunned. You were right, Kilira whispered, a fierce smile breaking across her face. Someone did care. As a loyalist vessel descended and Veth's forces scattered into trees, Kilira turned to Elias. You saved my life again, she said. He met her eyes, just returning the favor. Above them, the ship opened its ramp. Home waited, and Kilira had never been more ready to reclaim it. The chamber smelled of ozone and polished alloy, its walls pulsing faintly with the living metal of Aurelian design. Kilira stood in its center, cloaked in ceremonial armor that felt heavier than it should. Her injuries were mostly healed now. Aided by advanced biotech, her people had once denied the outer colonies. She looked out through the translucent viewing pane at the starscape beyond, familiar, vast, and unforgiving. Behind her, Elias remained silent. He wore simple clothes now, provided by the ship's caretakers, though his shoulders still held the tension of someone ready for war. He hadn't spoken much since they boarded the cruiser. The reunion with her loyalists had been a blur of medical checks, whispered reports, and veiled questions. She knew why he was quiet. This was no longer his world. It barely felt like hers. "You should rest," she said, turning to face him. "I'm fine," he replied, eyes scanning the stars. "You haven't slept since we left the surface. You have people watching over you. I don't sleep well with that many eyes." She studied him. His beard had grown thicker, his eyes more shadowed. Yet he still watched her as if her fate somehow mattered more than his own. "They owe you," she said. "You saved the heir to the throne. Twice. I didn't do it for them." "I know. That's why I trust you." He finally met her gaze. "What happens now?" "Now," she said slowly, "we take back Varelia." The words tasted strange, like something she once believed in but hadn't spoken aloud in too long. Her council, what remained of it, was fractured. Half had declared her dead. The rest had gone into hiding or been silenced. Her mother's allies were scattered, their names mere rumors carried by smugglers and rebels. "We can't go back openly," she said. "Not yet. Veth's forces control the capital. He's declared himself steward of the realm, claimed I abdicated under duress. He has control of the information channels. He is the information channels. We'll need to dismantle his reach before the people even believe I'm alive." Elias frowned. "Sound more like sabotage in politics." "Maybe both." He stepped closer. "You're planning a coup. I'm reclaiming a throne. That's what they'll call it." She exhaled. "Then let them. I won't let Veth rewrite our future while I cower in exile." There was silence between them again, but it was different this time, charged with intent. Later, in the ship's war room, Kilira stood before a star map with a circle of her most loyal commanders. Some had aged in her absence. Others were barely more than youths. They bowed when she entered, but she waved them upright. "Protocol has its place," she said, "but now is not that time." General Marin stepped forward. His hair was silver now, but his spine still straight. "You were dead to us. Highness, we feared the worst." "I was dead to them by design," she replied. "Now, I need to be reborn." Loudly, Marin's brows lifted. "What's your plan?" Kilira turned to Elias, who had quietly joined the edge of the room. "Elias will lead our infiltration team. He knows how to move unnoticed. He's already proven himself more capable than half our command." Elias stiffened. "I'm not." "You are," she interrupted. "You said once you were tired of fixing broken bodies. Help me stop the breaking altogether." He hesitated. The room watched him with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. "All right," he said finally, "but I don't take orders from anyone who calls me subject." Kilira smiled faintly. "Agreed." Over the next days, the plan crystallized. Small rebel cells were reactivated. Old contacts reached through encrypted bursts. The signal Elias had helped send wasn't just a call for rescue. It was a symbol. Kilira was alive. The response had begun as whispers. Now it was a quiet storm. Still, resistance wasn't romantic. They lost one scout team in orbit. Another was captured near a supply depot and executed live across the capital feeds. Veth wanted to make a statement. Kilira watched the broadcast in silence, jaw clenched, eyes burning. "He's baiting you," Elias said quietly. "He's reminding me who's watching." The infiltration began under the lightless veil of the Scorvian eclipse. Elias led a team of 6, Varelian and human alike, through decaying transit tunnels that fed into the capital's underlayers. The goal, reach the archives and release proof of Veth's coup to the citizen net. unaltered footage, voice transcripts, death warrants. While they moved beneath, Kilira appeared above, disguised in mercenary armor, broadcasting a signal of her own from a cloaked shuttle near the upper orbit. Her voice, clear, unfiltered, cut through jamming waves of just 23 seconds. This is Kilira, rightful heir. Veth lies. I live, and I will return. It was enough. Enough to make people question. Enough to draw them into the streets with handhelds and signal catchers. Protests, riots, and finally defections. The night Elias reached the archive's core, Kilira was waiting on the extraction ship, watching the approach window. The data core pulsed in his hands as he emerged, bloody but intact. "You made it," she said, breathless. "You sound surprised." "I told myself I wouldn't be." He handed her the core. "Your people better know how to make this scream. They will." The proof hit the networks before dawn. Faces once silent now demanded answers. Loyalist fleet captains changed course mid-patrol. Veth's regime fractured. By the seventh day, his forces withdrew from the palace walls. Kilira didn't enter with banners or trumpets. She walked through the gates in the same armor she'd worn when fleeing for her life. Inside, the throne room was quiet, dust in the air. The banners faded but intact. Elias stood at her side. He said nothing as she stepped forward and reclaimed the seat that had once exiled her. When she turned, she saw no triumph in his eyes, only a quiet kind of awe and perhaps sorrow. "This place never felt like mine," she said softly. "It does now." Weeks passed. The restoration began slowly. Veth was never found, gone into exile or something worse. Kilira formed a new council, one made of civilians and reformists. There was resistance. There always would be, but it was hers now to shape. One evening, Elias stood on the edge of the balcony, staring out at the floating spires of Aurelia. The air was thin here, clean. Kilira joined him. "They're offering you a title," she said. "Advisor, guardian of the air." "I'm not a politician." "No, but you're more than a medic." He was quiet for a long time. "This isn't my world," he said. "It could be. I'm not Varelian. I wasn't their queen, until I was." Elias looked at her then. Truly looked. "You don't need me anymore." "Need? No, but I want you here." That was all she said, and that was all he needed. Beneath them, the city pulsed with new life, uncertain, imperfect, but moving forward. And beside her, not as subject or savior, but as equal, Elias stayed.